What's up, Focus Trades? Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week. As always, getting a little bit better. Let's dive right in, guys. We got a fun, exciting week ahead of us with big tech earnings. Lots going on. So let's dive right in and waste no time. So, as always, guys, starting with the market here. If we just dive in and look at a daily chart, we've had an amazing comeback for the overall market. Just to recap here, what's happened the past few weeks, we had that beautiful little sell-off, started to get a little bit tricky because we truly started to trend down for the first time this year. However, bulls took control, they held nicely, they broke out, and they sent us right to all-time high. We pretty much kissed all time on Friday, spent Monday getting through it, spent yesterday trying to get towards that psychological level of 4,600, and then spent today pretty much going the other direction. So if you look at the market, guys, obviously very, technically extended and, very well could benefit from a much needed pullback. So we'll see if we get it. We'll dive in here to a few key levels in a minute, but as of right now, the daily mean, the 21 EMA, is right down below here about, we'll just call it 76 points, getting us right back down to some very big key levels. So obviously that's what we want to look for on the downside. We'll discuss a few more levels here in a minute, but the market is extended. One big thing we do want to keep in mind is earnings. We had a lot of big earnings ahead of us. We still have Apple, we still have Amazon, we still have Shopify. There's a lot of names that could move the market one way or another just based on what they did for earnings. So we're going to find out, but let's dive in a little bit deeper here and lay out some levels that y'all can focus on. And here we go. So again, we had that all-time high of 45.49, which we pretty much kissed on Friday, went back to point of control, consolidated, and then started our week getting through it. We got up towards that 45.90, 4,600 range. And again, we pretty much sat here and chopped. One big thing that I love that we have right now is a really, really tight 2-hour squeeze. The last 2-hour squeeze guided us higher. And now we're in another 2-hour squeeze. We spent a lot of time struggling today and then finally end of day, thanks to some, tax blips as well, we started to sell off and the squeeze hasn't quite fired yet. So this is something, guys, that I want to see if develops into tomorrow, if the squeeze fires to the downside, and then where do we go from there? For targets here, first and foremost, we want to focus on point of control, 45.28 for ES. That's going to be the biggest level and my first target, where if we get there and start to bounce, that could be an awesome dip buy level. Or if we do start to break point of control, at that point, I'll be looking for 45.09. So that right now is about a 36-point move. ES has about a 50-point ATR. So if we just go down to, psychological level of 4,500, that pretty much covers your ATR here. And again, if we look at the daily mean, we're starting to work our way towards that vicinity. So if we can't get back above 45.49.5, I expect that 45.28, 09, and then down towards the mean. We'll see what happens. Or again, guys, it could just get back above here. Could wait until Amazon and Apple earnings on Thursday. Who knows? Maybe it pulls back into it and then absolutely explodes. But market's been strong. We've had massive opportunities to the upside, and maybe it's time to pull back, which would be very, very healthy. So first and foremost, let's go get POC. Look at the indexes, guys. Again, it's earnings season. So we had a lot of things moving, especially tech, driving technology higher. Super, super strong index here today. And finally, kissing that all-time high. Definitely could also benefit from a pullback here. But again, guys, keep this one simple. Had a 2-hour squeeze, just like ES today, and tried to fire along. But then it stuffed all-time high and got sold off. So we'll see. Again, all depends on tech earnings. Do they keep holding? Right, as long as they hold this 15,500 range, still very bullish and could immediately turn around if Amazon or Apple have really good earnings and they get right back through all-time high and start to explode. But if they don't, here's a few levels we want to focus on. Look here, guys, point of control is always my first target. So 15,413 to the downside, along with getting to pretty much, the lows for the past few days. So call it that 15.5. And then that 15,413. From there, looking for 15,316. If you look at the daily mean in the 50, they're also clustered, right around that 15, call it 211 level. So right now with an ATR of about 220 points, that's about 400 points away. So call it 2 days of work. We could get there easily if earnings go bad. But vice versa, guys, if we do just kind of sit here and chop and continue to hold, I just have to see how earnings goes and then back through all-time high. But if we start to break down, looking for a push towards that 15,413. And if we look at YM, we pretty much, guys, want to keep an eye on them just to see if they're confirming a sell-off. Today did nothing but sell off while tech went straight up. And then eventually tech started to follow. ES went through low a day, that typical rotation conversation we have. So again, just like ES, they did a beautiful 2-hour squeeze today and are starting to release it. So you can see they're already firing theirs. ES is pretty much, starting to release theirs. And tech wanted to fire to the upside and then failed. So now might fire it to the downside here. Got to wait and see. But for again, YM, guys, keep it simple. If it keeps dropping, market's got a good chance of dropping. If they rotate hard into tech, that can keep it afloat. Today, tech was the only green index. So therefore, we want to see if it drags us higher or if eventually they follow suit and start to sell off. But we already broke point of control here. So again, that level's already kind of cleared. Let's see how far we can get here. And then if we look at VIX, not shocked that we're rolling off the highs. VIX is getting to some levels where we pretty much just roll off of the highs. And we've spent the past few days on VIX trying to get through 16, right? We hit 16 and we fall. We hit 16 and we fall. We hit 16 and we fall. Today, we finally closed through 16. So at this point, again, don't overcomplicate these. As long as we're above 16, a little vulnerable to the downside, right? We can head back to 16 and pop, but if we hold there, we could roll over again. Where VIX just continues to go towards 18 and then through it, we're definitely going to start to see that reversion to the mean. So keep an eye on VIX as always. Again, it's all going to depend on what happens on earnings, but this is a good compass as always to keep us in the right direction. But let's dive into some big setups here. And the first is going to be Google. Big earnings report, had stellar numbers. They crushed earnings per share. They crushed revenue. All good news. And today, guys, absolutely exploded, getting to all-time high and pretty much closing right at it, right? Pretty much very close to the cent. Huge move for Google. And if you look at Google's chart, they are breaking through all-time high very strong. The first thing I want to talk about here, guys, is what happened last time we broke all-time high. Right, last time we made a big breakthrough all-time high like we're seeing here today, we ran about 286 points before topping out. So not saying that happens this time, but assuming it does, Google could work its way to 3,200 here in the next few weeks. This is assuming that tech doesn't pull back, ruin the setup. Who knows? Google's had nothing but good news, nothing but accumulation today. Didn't even want to go lower. It was the only thing holding the market up. Super strong here. So again, guys, going to keep Google very simple, where unfortunately it might be bad timing, but it also might turn around and lead the way, especially if tech earnings start to go pretty well. So for this one, guys, want to watch if it can continue to hold 29.25. If it starts to break below 29.25, that prior all-time high, it's starting to get a little bit iffy. But if it can hold it, break that 29.73 from today, break that 3,000, I think we start the journey to just taking out 50-point levels, 30.50, 31, maybe even 32 in the next few weeks. We'll have to see what Google's possible. But it ran hard today, guys, from prior close up about 188 points at the highs. Crazy. So again, amazing earnings. We really want to see if this one can start to explode. If we take a look at some strikes for this week, again, see what happens, guys, with the market. But further side it goes, the 3,000s. 3,000s are a really nice strike. Look pretty good. Let's see. The 29.50s are also a decent strike. And let's see, guys, can also play 30.50s. So 30.50s, 3,000s, anywhere in this range is looking like a good strike. Right? The 29.50s are a little pricey. So I'd focus on the 3,000s and anywhere in that vicinity. And can even, guys, consider in next week's. Again, it's all going to depend if the market pulls back. But I really like the next week 3,000s and potentially even the 3,100s here. Right around $4. Awesome strikes, especially if it starts to continue this journey. But again, it might be tough timing. So I'm going to keep a close eye on Google monster opportunity today. If it holds here, I think it can keep rallying. Just an ATR of 60 points. Right, we're back near 3,000. Through that, we'll see if it can heat up. Next up, guys, is Roku. And this one's starting to break down really nicely. Had a gap fill this week, which I talked about in my newsletter. You guys can grab in the description. Broke a nice squeeze, filled that gap, and then completely started to fail. Formed a really nice wedge into today, broke down, sat at zone, and is starting to bleed here nicely. So definitely guys a little bearish on Roku and a name that you can consider shorting if the market continues to go lower. And my first target here was at 313.4, which it's not quite there yet. So see if you're going to retest at 318 to short it back down to 313. And then if it does break that 313, looking for a short down towards 308 range. Right now they have about a 12-point ATR, moved about 7 points today. From close here, looking at about a 7-point move. I really like it on Roku. So again, guys, this one's been very weak. It continues to reject the daily cloud, right? Huge rejection here. Look what happened last time it was stuck under cloud. Every time it got near a beautiful drop. Every time it got near a beautiful drop until the day it broke out of it. So right now we're seeing that same pattern start to form where Roku's getting that cloud, starting to fail. Gets in that cloud, starts to fail. So really want to see, guys, if it can take out this 313 and dump right back down towards that 310, 308 range. I still set up here on Roku, especially a name to the downside. So again, looking for 308. So if we just size up some calls here, not a ton of volume on Roku puts, but again, if you can get a pop to 318, 317 halves aren't bad, 315s aren't bad either. And the furthest I would go this week, guys, is probably the 310s. That's what gets you in that range of your target. And again, I probably wouldn't ignore it to the upside for now. If it does end up holding here, we have POC above, so it can get back. Just be mindful that they're selling the crap out of this. Doesn't really have the best trend. It's under daily cloud. Definitely a little bearish on it, especially after it already filled that gap. That was a long trade this week, and now we're headed short. So see what it can give us. Not quite setups, guys, but one thing I really just want to focus on for the rest of the week is Amazon and Apple earnings. And I also want to focus on Shopify. Shopify is set to report tomorrow morning, so I really want to see what's possible for Shop. Right now, they're sitting between very big ranges. So again, it's hard for me to give some true value here because I don't know what they're going to do. But I do like to play, guys, what's called premium crush. So right now, the options are very expensive on Shopify. All right, we'll look at the chain here in a minute. But after they report earnings and then crush the premiums, they can absolutely explode. So I really want to keep an eye on Shop here. If we take a look at some options, both up and down, let's just add some time. Right now, guys, to upside, probably want to focus on the 1500s and the 1450s, right? Don't want to pay 10 for them. Want to pay anywhere around 3 to 4, right? For the 15s, don't want to pay 4. Want to pay anywhere around $2 for them. So again, all depends what happens. But if it has good earnings like a Googl, it can absolutely explode after it crushes earnings, right? Let me show you a quick example. On Googl here, take a look at this, right? The 2900s. They guys opened, or rather closed at $15 and then premium crushed after earnings to $1 and then ran to 80. That's when we want to buy stocks, when they crush the premium. So again, hard to predict what it's going to do or even if it's worth buying, but really pay attention as to Shopify, both up or down. Again, I want to target kind of 1300 to 1250 on the downside, right? So, 1300 to 1250 on the downside. And then, that 15 to 14.5 on the upside. Be patient, guys. Let premium get crushed and we'll see what happens. But this goes for Apple, Shopify, and Amazon. I want to trade them all. Just really need to wait and see what the reports say. If they're good, watch calls for the premium crush. If they're bad, watch puts. If it looks undecided, stay out of trouble. But I really want to see, guys, if Amazon can work its way towards 3,500 or does it start to implode to 3,300? So start to look at strikes in that range. All right, and then for Apple here, can Apple start to break through 151 plus, or does it drop back to 146? We're going to find out soon, but we got to let the premiums get crushed. But one more setup, guys, that you don't got to wait for is Nvidia. Really, really love this one. So huge breakout this week. They've been rallying super strong, big gap up here, new all-time high, monster setup. Today, they had a little negative news, which is why Nvidia rolled off the highs. If we take a look, a lot of, ARM acquisition stuff, always in the air for Nvidia here. But EU antitrust regulators open an in-depth investigation into Nvidia's $54 billion bid for ARM. Not good. Right back down we go. So for Nvidia, guys, here's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on this little intraday zone here. This is a good level to get long off of or look to short at, right? Today, you got long off of it, and then you can short it back to it. But if it sits here and bounces, could be a nice bounce trade. Looking to get back up towards that 250 range again. and we'll check out some squeezes here in a second. But if it does break down, we had a gap fill trigger there at 239. And then we have a huge gap to fill to 233. I want to keep an eye on 236 in between. But right now we have about a 7-point ATR. So that gets us to the gap fill of 5 points. And then even more here, possibly. Maybe even fills the gap this week. Really want to see, guys, what happens with the news, right? Does it keep, unfolding? Is it enough to, finally take this thing down? It's at 3 ATR, so ideally, I'd rather go short. But if it does hold up here, it could be a good long. But let's hop in, guys, and look at the hourly squeeze, because that could be an awesome compass. Nice, love it. So yeah, we should get the squeeze overnight, getting a little bit tighter, just assuming it opens flat and wasn't volatile. But even right now, have some compression. I like to use after hours on. So again, guys, looking for a drop down towards that 240 range, that 235 range, or push back up towards 250. So for Nvidia here, a little bit of a cheaper name, so don't go too far out. But for the downside, guys, I'd focus on 240 puts. Those are really, really good strike. They can double, offer some decent risk reward. Again, if we hold here to the upside, I'd focus, guys, on 245s, 247 and a halves, 250s, anything right around, at the money. Don't go too far out on either side. But we had a nice squeeze. We can hold and pop, or we can drop and then start to fill the gap. I'll let Nvidia decide. But that's my thoughts, guys. We talked about the market, VIX, talked about Google, Roku, Amazon, Apple, Shop, Nvidia, plenty of awesome setups. Hopefully you guys found value in this. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Drop me a comment if you enjoyed. And go out there, guys, and kick the rest of the trading week's butt. Get a little bit better. And I'll talk to you in the next video. Appreciate your time.
Hey, Focus Chan here with Simpler Trading. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything that we do. And if you want to see us trade our money live in real time, go to simplertrading.com and you can sign up for more. But happy trading, guys. Stay focused. I'll talk to you in the next video.